Hello friends, welcome to Conceptify. My name is Ravi Jain and here we make all your concepts crystal clear. In previous two lectures I have discussed various theories of Plato like theory of justice, theory of idea, theory of soul, theory of classes, etc. Let us briefly revise them before moving forward. Okay, so through Plato's theory of idea, we came to concept of ideal state, and after theory of ideal state, we have discussed about theory of class and soul, and after class and soul, based on the class structure, he has given theory of justice. Okay, justice means proper stationing. It is concept of division of labor, in which every class will perform function according to natural talent. Alright, so we have seen that there are three different classes: ruling class, soldier class or warrior class, and producing class. If in this state every class do their work according to the natural attribute, the outcome of this arrangement will be just, or we will say that justice will be there in society, and outcome of justice or this distribution will be peace, harmony, stability, order in society. Okay, and the Plato's theory of idea, it says that reality is shadow of idea. It means that this world is a reflection of ideal world. Okay, and what is real? We see the material thing around us and consider them real. They are not real. They are different and they are based on perfect idea. It means that the person who has perfect idea of good will be best suitable to govern the society. Okay, so the philosopher king will be perfect ruler to govern the society. Alright, now we have concluded that society must be ruled by philosopher king. Because his soul is made of gold material and he will be rational man and he will be able to control the other two classes. Alright, but now come to theory of education. In the beginning, you must be doubting that why in political science we are studying about theory of education. Okay, so why theory of education? It is to train the person in philosophy, knowledge. Okay, according to Plato, wrong deeds have their origin in ignorance, because people are ignorant. Okay, let me again take the idea of allegory of cave. People which are in the cave are ignorant. Okay, they were chained because they were chained. Now there is sunlight. Now people should be brought out of the cave in the presence of sunlight, and the process which transforms person from ignorant to knowledge is education. Alright, we have discussed allegory of cave in theory of idea in greater detail, so that's why I am not explaining in detail and taking very small part of it. Why? To explain the theory of education, because people are ignorant. Alright, they are trapped in the images, they are trapped in shadows. But how to bring people into sunlight? So, through education. Okay, so the function of education is to turn around the people, turn around the people, okay, to give them knowledge, because wrong deeds have their origin in ignorance. Okay, knowledge, to make them aware. Character formation, character formation, because the state is individual writ large. If individuals are not aware, they do not know the philosophy, they will not be able to govern itself, or the state will not be an ideal state. Okay, this is important of education, or the answer to the question why Plato gave theory of education. Okay, and in theory of justice, we have seen that there will be three classes. One class will be ruling class, another will be soldier class or warrior class, and third will be producing class. Okay, so how we know? One question is how we know about their position in particular class, position, whether how to find whether some person belong to this class, or this class, through test or examination, all right. But before that, some training is required, and that training comes from theory of education. It is like we are born and we go to school from, suppose, first standard to 12th standard. Then there is exam. Then we go to the college or university education. But there is test for the entrance test, because suppose in IIT, in NIT, or any other exam, we give entrance test to enter into particular university. After that, there is test for higher education, that is post graduation or PhD. All right. Similarly, education is training us. So education is mean to socialization. It means that every society will give education to their citizens to make aware their stationing in society. All right. What were the principle of justice? Their proper stationing. In different classes. If you are a gold-hearted person or golden soul person, you will be ruler. But how do we know that you can become the ruler? Through education and training and a thorough examination. How do we specialize the thing? Through training or through education. Okay. Suppose there are two persons. One want to become doctor and one want to become engineer. Okay. Then how we train them? Till 12th, they have to take biology and they have to clear the NEET examination. Similarly, they have to take maths and clear IIT or AIEEE or JEE mains examination. All right. So Plato is saying that every man or woman is born in their respective categories, and the skill can be trained, or the person can be trained. The trait or the characters are not hereditary or have parental lineage. Alright, it means that a person can be trained. Alright, so we have seen that theory of justice. There is a link between theory of education and theory of justice. It means that if we want to establish or we want to establish Athens as an ideal state based on theory of justice, then it should come from education. Okay, so write down why education. It is a logical result of theory of justice. According to Plato, wrong deeds have their origin in ignorance of people. Like the decline of Athens was due to ignorant rulers. Education tries to cure the ills at the source, while communism tries to prevent destruction that may corrupt the soul. Large portion of his book Republic were devoted to scheme of education compared to communism. The ideal state ruled by philosopher king is made possible through an elaborate and rigorous scheme of education. Okay, now from where he is getting that the idea that the education is needed. Socrates, let us bring Socrates again. He says that virtue is knowledge. Virtue is knowledge. It means that every person should have knowledge, and from where knowledge will come? Through theory of education. Through education. Okay, so right. Plato took cue from Socratic dictum that knowledge is virtue, and right knowledge can be acquired through proper education. Since human being cannot live without value system, Plato looked to education as an instrument of moral reform. For it would mold and transform human soul. Education will inculcate values in member of society. Rousseau, there will be a thinker of social contract. There will be three thinkers. First will be Hobbes, then Locke, and third will be Rousseau. In his book Emile described the Republic as the finest treatise on education to be ever written. Okay, so why education? Education is because people are ignorant and knowledge is virtue. So proper education and training will make person aware. It will lead to character formation. In paper 4 ethics, there is topic named as socialization or education. You can use these quotes there also. Okay, now before giving a systematic theory of education, Plato compares the prevalent model of theory of education. Like in theory of justice, we have seen that Plato tries to critically examine 4 or 5 persons and their views on justice. Okay, Thrasymachus, Glaucon. Similarly, he wants to explore what were the existing or prevalent model of education. So, let us take two models. Spartan model, Spartan system, Spartan system. Okay, and another is Athenian system. Athenian system. Okay, so there was some merit and some demerit in both system, and Plato will try to try to synthesize both these model. All right, so Plato will take some good things from the Spartan model and some good thing from Athenian model. Okay, so the merit of Spartan system was it was state controlled. Okay, and state responsibility was there for education, like Indian constitution in article 21A mentioned that, and through right to education mentions that it is fundamental duty of citizen to get education, or fundamental right of citizen to get education, and state will provide education. Okay, so it will be state provided or state sponsored. Okay, and female education was there, and apart from that there was physical education. Okay, now Athenian system was more or less individualistic in nature. Okay, so it was private education. Okay, it will come in, I am mentioning here, but it will come in demerit. Okay, so let me put in demerit, private education. And so both were absent. Okay, it was based on logical education, reasoning, philosophy, okay, creativity, and okay, so the merit was present in both systems. There was state sponsored or state controlled education system. Okay, that was prevalent in Sparta. In Athens there was a private education system like coachings. Okay, and subjects which were taught logic, mathematics, arithmetic, geometry, etc. Okay, so the demerit of this system will be absence of logical education, and here these all thing will come here. Okay, so Plato, before moving or before arriving to conclusion or giving his theory, he critically examines two different model of education prevalent in that time in Greece. One was Sparta and one was Athens. In Sparta there was prevalence of physical education, okay, and it was mostly state sponsored. But in Athens the method of education was private in nature, and it was more of logical or philosophical or mathematical education. Okay, similarly women education was missing. Okay, the women education we have seen. So after comparing these two models, why he is discussing these two models? Because Athens was lost in Peloponnesian War, and he was looking into the reasons or the causes of this loss. Okay. Now we have to see the theory of education of Plato. We have seen the Sparta and Athenian system. Now Plato comes to his theory of education. The theory of education. Okay. So after taking cue from both the model, Plato started that it should be state which has responsibility to give education. So state sponsored. Okay, but what need to be taught in the class? Okay, it should be in the sight of the state, or state should have surveillance over the education or the curriculum, or what we taught in, what we teach in the class. Okay, so it will be state sponsored and state supervision. Okay, and it will be a comprehensive system. It means that we need to focus both on physical education and intellectual education. If we see that education has its importance, the new education policy 2022 has come, and the what should be the policy of education has been in debate after independence, like Kothari commission came. Okay, so the philosophy of education is highly influenced by thinkers like Plato. Plato has given the comprehensive theory of education. That's why Rousseau says it is the highest book written over in field of education. Okay, it will be comprehensive. It will be rigorous. It will be lifelong. सीखने की कोई उम्र नहीं होती. That's why education people must learn in till their life, end of life, like till 50 years. Okay, now apart from this, three-dimensional, three-tier, and comprehensive means multi-dimensional. It means different kind of subjects will be taught. Okay, three-tier, we will see what is the definition of this three-tier. Okay, and one important feature or the radical idea of Plato was woman education. Okay, so where is space? Let me take it. This woman education, or we can say that the universal education. Okay, so feature of theory of education is that it will be state sponsored. It means that state is responsibility to provide education, and state will not discriminate on the basis of gender, and it will try to provide education to everybody. It means universalization of education or women education, and it is responsibility of state to check that what has been taught in the class, or like we have national curriculum framework or NCRT which makes the books. So state has control over what will be taught in the classes. Okay, so it will be on state supervision. Okay, now it will be multidimensional or comprehensive education. Apart from physical education, there will be focus on intellectual education. It will be three-tier, we will see it. Okay, and it will be rigorous and lifelong education process. So after comparing the two model, he have taken goods from both the model and gave his theory of education. Okay, let me tell you what is his lifelong education means that. Okay, so let me draw a timeline here. Okay, right. So from 6 to 6, age of 6, here I am mentioning age of 6 to 18. Okay, this is the time when we get till class 12th or higher secondary. Before going to college, we get this kind of education presently. Similarly, Plato is making this. This will be primary education. Primary education. Okay, so from 6 to 18. Then from 18 to 20, it means 2 years. 2 years. There will be compulsory military training for everyone. All right. Now comes first test. I am using red pen for this. First test. Okay. Again. Then from 20 to 30, 10 years of education. Like graduation. similar to graduation. Do not use these terms. I am using them for just explanation. Okay. From after 30, there will be second test. Second test. Okay. All right. Then 30 to 35, 5 year of higher education like post graduation or PhD, 5 साल की PhD. Okay. Then from 35 to 50, practical training. Okay. This is the model of education. It means that from 6 to 18, primary education, one block. Then 18 to 20. Then 18 to 20, there will be compulsory military training. और ये हो गया before college, before going to graduation. Then there will be test for going into higher education or university or graduation. And there will be education for 20 to 30 years, 10 years of education. After graduation, there will be test at age of 30. All right. And after that 30, 5-year higher education, advanced higher education will be there. And it is like PhD course, 5 years PhD. All right. After that, 15 years of practical training will be given. Okay. So this is similar to education, present education before going into college. Okay. This is similar to graduation, 10 years of graduation. This is similar to 5-year PhD or higher post-graduation. Post-graduation. It means 2 years of master's class, MA, plus 3 years of PhD. This is present 10 plus 2 system. This is 10 plus 2. 10 plus 2. This is graduation, 4 years. And this is 5 years. This is a scheme of education which was prescribed by Kothari Commission and other commission. Similarly, present education policy also prescribe this kind of some major, minor changes are there, but this kind of scheme has been given in new education policy of 2020. Okay. So we have seen that primary education will be there and higher education will be there. Higher education will be there and there will be practical training. So this is scheme of education and there will be 2 tests, and let me tell you what will be the detailed education scheme. Okay. Now let us take first primary education from 6 to 18. Now this will be in 2 parts, up to age of 6 and 6 to 18. Okay. Up to 6, like before, like kindergarten. What we teach in kindergarten? Good manners, what to do, what not to do. Okay. But after 6 to 18, we will teach them gymnastic or physical education and music, apart from social sciences. Okay. What is benefit? Why is Plato prescribing gymnastic and music? Because gymnastic will help person for healthy person. It will help for training of body. Okay. It will develop fierce qualities. Okay. And what is music? Music has perfect rhythm in life. Okay. Music is like mathematics. There are 7 surs. Okay. So it will develop some rhythm in body. It means rhythm will create harmony. Music में होती है harmony. All right. So there will be harmony in the person, or it will soften the spirit. Okay, soften the soul. All right. So it will soften the soul for nurturing of soul. Nurturing of primary education will be for nurturing of soul. Nurturing of soul. Or to make soul responsive. Okay, then there will be from 18 to 20 there will be 2 years of military training. Retraining. Okay, everybody was required to attend this training. All right. So at the age of 20, okay, first test will be conducted at the age of 20. All right. So दो होंगे, एक पास होंगे, एक फेल, एक पास. जो फेल होंगे they will become producer class. Okay. So are you getting? Through education, scheme of education and particular test or examination, we are able to find which class will be producer class. Who will not be able to fight or to pass the examination will be producing class. All right. So suppose there in UPSC prelims examination is there. Prelims. We do preparation, then prelims, then mains, then interview. Who will clear the prelims? Who has ability to remember the facts or to solve the MCQ. All right. Suppose some person fails in that examination. It means that he is not good for solving the multiple question. Okay. Similarly in mains, who will pass in mains? Person which do not have good writing skills. All right. Now who will pass an interview? Who have both good writing skill as well as good communication skill or personality. All right. Similarly, let me rub this. Okay. Fail, become producer class. All right. After passing, this will be guardian class. Guardian class will constitute both ruling class and warrior class, soldier class. Okay. So there are 3 classes: ruling class, warrior class and producer class. So now we have identified this class. Now we have to identify which will be ruling class and which will be warrior class. So now after finishing primary education till 18, there will be compulsory military training of 2 years. After that, there will be entrance test for higher education. Okay, so higher education will be 20 to 30 years. All right. So higher education is for ruling class or guardian class. It means top 2 classes will have opportunity of higher education. Okay. So it is also Plato for this theory is also criticized that he is not giving opportunity for the producing class or common man to have higher education. So there is elitist element or the aristocratic element, and this is also hatred toward democracy or contempt toward democracy. Okay. So higher education is for free intellectual inquiry. Intellectual inquiry. It means you can critically examine the various things around you. Okay. So first he attained till 18 age, he attained the aim of universal education. Okay, or universal literacy. Then he brings some person or few persons for higher education. Okay, and what will be taught? What do you think? What should be taught? The subject will be arithmetic, it means mathematics, geometry, and other subjects like astronomy, harmonics, etc. So why they will be taught arithmetic and geometry? Because in arithmetic 2 plus 2 is always 4, sum of two even number, sum of two even number is always even. It means that it is truth, absolute truth will be taught. All right, absolute truth. Okay, geometry is also perfect. The sum of triangle, sum of angle of triangle is 180 degree always, and the rectangle sum is 360 degree. Okay, so through this he will try to get the idea of good. Okay, in theory of idea we have seen that there was idea of good, idea of good. Okay, and there was form, and there was material world. So through geometry he will able to learn that there exists absolute transcendental idea, there exists objective truth. Okay, so he will try to grasp the idea of form through this, because form has mathematical in nature, mathematical in nature. So that's why he is giving impetus or emphasis on the mathematics. And it is interesting or surprising fact for you that in Plato's university, that was school, that was named as academy, it was written that those who do not have knowledge of arithmetic and geometry, please do not enter. Why is he is giving more emphasis to mathematics, geometry? Because in mathematics there is absolute truth, like idea of good, idea of justice, idea of philosopher king, and mathematical fact cannot be refuted, and they are beyond time and space. Suppose 2 plus 2 is always 4. Whether you look in India, Pakistan, or whether you looked in 2000 year back or 2000 year later, there will be always 4. It means that the idea of justice will always be there, and there will be perfect subject, it will be objective, it transcendental. We have seen in the theory of idea. Okay, so what education, this higher education will do that it will move the mind from this perception world to the ideal world. Okay, so there was two world, this was ideal world and this was material world. So higher education will turn the mind of people toward this, so they will lose this. So they are ultimately planning to become the ruler or the guardian or the philosopher kings or queen in later time. But before them, the root cause of problem in Athens was that they were in behind the material powers, money. So we have to dislocate them from. All right, we have to remove the distraction from the material world. So what we have to do it through education. We will turn their perception out of this world to that world. And which theory is doing? A theory of higher education. Okay. Now, second test will be there at the age of 30. Who will fail and who will pass? The failed person will be soldiers, or we call them auxiliaries. They will be failed. All right. So there were, जैसे एक मिक्सचर है, उसमें से तीन चीजें पड़ी हुई है. जैसे इसमें एक मिक्सचर, एक बाउल है या एक कंटेनर, इसमें तीन क्लास पड़ी हुई है, 1 2 3. दिस इज रूलिंग क्लास, दिस इज वॉरियर क्लास एंड दिस इज प्रोड्यूसर क्लास. नाउ एक मिक्सचर में तीन चीजों को अलग अलग कैसे करना है? नाउ वी हैव सीन दैट थ्रू फर्स्ट टेस्ट they have been eliminated. Now this is mixture of two, ruling class and warring class. Through second test Now we have identified who has failed, that is warrior class. Now persons are fully recognized as that they will be trained for philosophy. Okay. Now person remaining is ruling class. Or we can see this is mixture of, just a minute, three classes: ruling class, warrior class and producer class through first test at age of 20. Only classes will be ruling class and warrior class. Okay. Now at the age of 30, second test, who will remain? The ruling class. Okay. So Plato की जो theory of justice है, he is saying that there are three classes, and if each person of these classes do their work according to their respective class, then there will be justice. But how to identify that person belong to which class, or how to identify there are three different classes? So he gave rigorous theory of education. Okay, test, examination. Okay, each test will eliminate particular class. Now at the age of 30, the who will be remain in the academy or education system will be the person who can become rulers, but still they need to be trained. Now from 30 to 35 there will be advanced courses. All right. Now let me ask you, who can be philosopher? Okay, let me ask you a question, that who is philosopher? Now try to link this with theory of idea. Who has idea of good, and how to achieve at this absolute or ultimate idea through approach of, how to approach to this through dialectics. Socrates says that unexamined life is not worth living. But how to examine our life? It means through dialectics. It means somebody who wants to become philosopher, he must know the dialectics. He must know philosophy. He must know idea of good. Okay? So these kind of training or curriculum will be taught in advanced courses like dialectics. Okay? Dialectics, advanced mathematics, idea of good, advanced philosophy. I am just not telling you that these are the courses. Particular from 6 to 18, these are the courses. These are the courses from 20 to 30 or 30 to 35. I am also giving reasoning that Plato has given, that why these should be taught. Why philosophy or dialectics need to be taught at this level? Because suppose we want to hire a person for programming or coding, then he must at least have some language knowledge, programming knowledge, C, C++, Java. He should have particular knowledge of that. So we are testing the competency of person or eligibility of person. Like UPSC has given the syllabus, GS, essay and optional. So the UPSC will test the credential of candidate based on that syllabus. Okay. Now philosopher has some requirement that he should have knowledge of philosophy, dialectics, idea of good, etc. So he must be trained for them. Okay. That's why advanced courses. All right. Now from age 35 to 50, he will be giving practical training in administration. That after 35, he will be sent to affair of the state, where he will try to apply the philosophy for service of mankind or human being. He will look after the people and how we can produce, because he have knowledge of, at the age of 30, he has knowledge of idea of good. Now he will go to administration, that how can I apply this idea of good to that? Okay, if I have to govern, how will be governed? Like training in Masuri, Labasna. Okay, so practical training. Okay, now again let me tell you again the education scheme of education at 6 to 18. 6 to 18 primary education. What will be taught? Gymnastic and music and other social science subject. It will create the enriched soul or nourished soul. Okay, from 18 to 20 there will be compulsory military training, and first test as 20. Okay, and who will pass? Ruling class, the guardian class. Who will be eliminated? The producer class. Okay, then 20 to 30 higher education will be there. Okay, what will be taught? Subject like mathematics, geometry, arithmetic. Why they will be taught? To have absolute idea or truth or idea of good. After 30, second test. Who will pass? The ruling class. Who will fail? The soldier class. Okay, so after 30 to 35 there will be advanced courses like philosophy, dialectics, so that there will be training for philosophers. Okay, at 35 to 50 there will be practical training so that they can apply the idea of good, okay, in administration. This is rigorous, this is comprehensive, this is multidimensional, this is 3 tier. First year was this, first year, second year, third year. जैसे अभी होता है ना 10+2 लेवल. Okay, then 3 or 4 year of education, graduation, then higher education. So primary education, graduation level is education, or higher or post graduation, similar to that, because Plato has been a real influencer in theory of education in various systems. Various countries have adopted system of prescription on based of prescription of Plato. Okay, so after 50, a person will be selected as a philosopher, ruler, and he will rule over the Athens, an ideal state. Okay, so you can write notes on Plato's theory of education. Plato tried to balance two contrasting model of education. और वो टेबल बनाई थी ना जो स्पार्टा और उसकी, वो आप यहाँ बना लेना. ये this table. Okay, now right, knowledge is to be acquired for the sake of perfection and excellence. He also emphasized on the environment in which soul grows and got attracted to things that are beautiful and then move toward beauty in itself. Okay, Platonic education is primarily a molding of soul, M-O-U-L-D-I-N-G, molding of soul. Plato used Pythagorean idea of immortality and transmigration of souls. He believes that human soul is a repository of knowledge acquired through previous births with the capacity to remember. यानी प्लेटो कहता है कि the knowledge is in our soul. What we have to do? We have to examine it through method of dialectics. Okay, in the nature versus nurture debate. Nature means we are born with some nature. Nurture means what we get through social environment. Plato gave interdependence of both in shaping human character. He accepts that individuals differ in intelligence and capacities, which were determined at the time of birth. they are permanent, but within their limit individual could be molded. Plato didn't find any difference between the sexes in talent and skills, comma, against secondary status to women in Greek society. Okay. Comedies of Aristophanes. Comedies of Aristophanes. A comedian, the Aristophanes. So in his comedies, woman was legislature. Comedies of Aristophanes has theme of women's participation in education. Okay. Then make this diagram. Theory of education. Okay. Okay. Plato suggests three-tier multidimensional state-sponsored, state-controlled, rigorous education system for 50 years. And no discrimination will be based on birth and gender. And now draw this table. Don't write this, but draw this. Age of 6 to 18 primary education. Now, I hope you have drawn this table. Right, elementary education. It will be in 2 stages. In first stage, up to 6 lessons of manners. Okay, write in point form. Second stage, 6 to 18 year. It will be both physical and intellectual education. Gymnastic will develop fierce qualities and healthy body, comma. Music will soften the spirit and will have rhythm and harmony in body. Okay, next. 2 years of compulsory military training from 18 to 20. The guardians will be perfected as professional warriors, similar to prevalent Athenian practice. It will develop courage, self-control, character and discipline. Okay, next. There will be first test at the age of 20. Who will fail become producer class. Alright, next. Higher education. Higher education will be solely prerogative of ruling class. He promotes to aim first to ensure universal literacy and second adequate and proper training for ruling class. Okay, higher education is to cultivate the spirit of free intellectual inquiry. Okay, primary education का काम क्या था? To make soul responsive to environment. Okay, from age of 20 to 30, guardian class education will be advanced courses in mathematics, geometry, astronomy and harmonics. The arithmetic will inculcate or imbibe philosophical values, that is pure intelligence for truth based on arithmetic, and geometry will enhance power of reasoning and vision of idea of good. Ultimate aim of higher education will be to alleviate mind from sense perception. Bracket theory of idea. Okay, next. Second test will be conducted at the age of 30. Those who will fail Those who will fail become soldier class, and those who will pass become have to go further education. Okay, now next, advanced higher education from 31 to 35. Since the competence of philosopher requires the knowledge of philosophy and dialectics, so these subjects will be taught. Next, 15-year practical training from 36 to 50. They will apply the idea of good or philosophy for worldly life problem. Sorry. They acquire position of authority in state. They will get practical experience through dealing with the day-to-day problem of administration for 15 years. Okay, by the age of 50, philosopher's ruler will be fully equipped. He will devote greater part of his time in contemplation and philosophy, along with political obligation. Since he has grasped the idea of good, he will be able to do good to community. Okay. Now, right, those states are governed best where rulers are reluctant to govern rather than where they are eager to govern. It means that how to select philosopher king. There will be no conflict among candidates as they have love for knowledge and they have reluctance to govern. Yes. Okay. Now, right. True goal of education for both Plato and Aristotle is to inculcate civic virtues. Okay. Elementary education makes soul responsible to the environment. Higher education helped the soul to reach the truth which illuminates it. It trains human mind of moral judgment and body to be healthy. Plato recommends that censorship of literature and music to encourage virtues necessary to prevent human mind from exposing to harmful idea. Yani, why should state should have surveillance over education system? Because I am explaining, do not write it. If state do not have surveillance over education system, then people will be taught some vices or which are not good for particular country. Okay, so we have seen the theory of education. Now let us try to critically examine this theory. Critical examination. So what are the positives? Positives are women education. Positive are state sponsored. Positives are universal education. Okay, rigorous, multidimensional. These are positives. Okay, it's comprehensive, and Rousseau calls Republic as best book ever written on field of education. Okay, similarly, but what are the negatives? Theory of education, that first he excluded particular section or common man, or he has elite element in his thinking, that person belonging to producer class or particular section will not get higher education and will not be able to become rulers, or they will not have participation in governance or deliberation. Okay, so that was, and it was theoretical, not practicable. If the education system will exist, it will be too expensive, because after till 50, okay, so you can write some positives that Plato's education system has deeply influenced human thought and action. Modern civil and military services, properly trained, okay, equal opportunity to women is commendable. Okay, it is comprehensive, consisting of physical, spiritual, theoretical, practical learning. Rousseau calls Republic as the best book ever written in the field of education. Apart from this, state controlled and state provided, but negative will be that it excludes particular section of society, and it is more of theoretical and more of expensive. Okay, so we have completed theory of education and I have dealt it in very detail, and let us see what we have completed. Theory of idea we have completed. Okay, now after theory of idea, class, soul, justice and education. Now we have selected philosopher king, we have trained a person for philosopher king, यानी IAS का selection हो गया, prelims, mains and interview. But how to control or how to check a person, that how it will be guaranteed that the person selected as IAS officer will not abuse or misuse his power. The question Plato is asking is that if philosopher king is selected through theory of education, we have selected this. Now he has given some absolute power. Okay, theory of education is used to train the competent person as a philosopher king, and Plato has given him absolute power. Now, what is the guarantee that this man will not be corrupt later? Alright, IAS में भी यही होता है ना, after prelims, mains and interview we have selected a proper candidate or eligible candidate. It will have competency, but how to ensure that he will not indulge himself in corruption or herself in corruption? Okay, so Plato is bringing problem of corruption. Okay, through rigorous scheme of education, training, tests, examination or practical training, we have selected one person which is philosopher king, and we have given him power, absolute power. But how to ensure that the person will not be a corrupt person? He will not misuse power and money. He will not use his power for having money or benefit of his family. Okay, this is the central question Plato is asking. How to stop corruption? So he says why he will do corruption. Okay, the first question, write it as at how to ensure. First question is, what is the guarantee that philosopher king, let PHK, will not be corrupt? Okay. First. Now he is analyzing why he can be under corrupt practices. Okay. So question is corruption. So how to do corruption? Why some person do corruption? Think. So he is saying that there are two elements. First is for his family. Okay. Second is for property. Suppose he family को कैसे करप्ट कर, फैमिली के लिए कैसे पर्टिकुलर पर्सन डू करप्शन? नेपोटिज्म, फेवरेटिज्म. ओके. एंड ये तो फैमिली के लिए करता है. सपोज वन पर्सन इज हिज नेफ्यू और नीस, he will be appointed in government services. Okay. Property, he gets money and money is private property. Okay. Private property. दो ही चीजों के लिए करप्शन होता है, प्रॉपर्टी एंड फैमिली. क्योंकि फैमिली के लिए सपोज he is doing favoritism, favors to family or family members. Nepotism, he is selecting candidates of his family or family ties. Similarly, private property. So he says that corruption in a philosopher can be due to two reasons. First is family and second is property. Are you getting what we are discussing? That after rigorous scheme of education, training, practical field, we have selected philosopher king. But what is the guarantee that he will not be indulged in corruption? Now Plato is saying why he will be corrupt? Due to his family and property. Okay. Now, what is solution? Solution for Plato is that let us end the family and let us end the property. End of family and property. Property means private property. Okay. So are you getting my point that he can involve in corruption? Why? Because of family and because of property. The solution is that let us end family and property. What is meant by that? Communism of, the solution is communism of property, family. Okay. So he is saying that if he will not have any private property, family, okay, then why, for which cause he will do corruption? मोदी जी भी तो ये कहते हैं कि मेरी ना तो घर पे कोई है ना कोई आने वाला है, तो why I will be involved in corruption? ना खाऊंगा ना खाने दूंगा. Okay. So right. So he is saying that end of family and property, or there will be communism of property and family. The guardian class or the ruling class will not have any property or will not have any family. Then he will not be able to do corruption. So education was primary mechanism to select the ruler. Through education or theory of education. Theory of education, we have selected and trained the philosopher king. So this was primary mechanism to select. Now, what is supplementary mechanism to select to prevent it from? Supplementary mechanism to prevent it from corruption. Okay. Theory based education to train and select philosopher king. Okay. Now debate in itself very contradictory that through theory of education you put a rightful candidate or eligible candidate as philosopher king, and this is primary mechanism to select the philosopher king, but through supplementary mechanism you will prevent it from corruption. That is theory of communism. Okay. Similarly, जैसे we can take analogy of UPSC. UPSC do selection of IAS officer, and various accountability institution like CVC, CBI, ED, etc. is there to prevent from corruption. Alright. So that's why he gave theory of communism of property and family. Now, family has more corrupting tendency than property. So he has devoted more space to communism of family. Family means a wife, marriage and children. Okay. Then he has given more space to family. Family has more corrupting tendency than property. Plato is saying that. That's why he devoted much space in Republic to communism of property. Sorry, family. Then communism of family, property. Okay. So that's why. Now we have seen the theory of communism, and one feature is that communism will be only for the guardian class. It will not be for producing class, because producing class will not be involved in corruption, because they are not involved in government functions. Government or state function will be conducted by the guardian class, not by producer class. So who can be involved in corruption? Only guardian class. So the communism theory of property and family is for guardian class and not for producing class. Okay. So write down some notes. Why communism? Right. While education, for Plato was designed to create the proper environment for the nurturing and development of human soul, the communism of wives and property tries to eliminate all the negatives that obstruct proper growth of individual. Though ruler is philosopher who has true knowledge and no lust for property / worldly things, yet Plato introduced communism as supplementary mechanism / additional safeguard to check any possibility of rulers getting corrupt. His theory of communism of property and family is theory of prevention of corruption. In the Republic, Plato devoted greater space and consideration to community of wives than to property, as family is bigger evil than property in terms of corrupting influence, right? For family, people do corruption in form of nepotism, favoritism, ruling class favors their own kith and kin. Plato wants to establish meritocratic society in which every individual performs task based on appropriate talent. Okay, suppose ruling class ka kith and kin hai, he is producing class, so he should not get in ruling class or he should not become soldier. That it will not be a perfect society, it will be imperfect society. Okay, communism will ensure that nepotism, favoritism, family ties will not be criteria for selection, because politics is not for gaining personal interests but promotion of common good. Okay, write down features of communism, features of theory of communism. Right. First, Plato's communism is only for guardian class, that is ruler plus soldiers, and not for producer class. As they will have appetite and they are not in power, so they cannot misuse. Plato permits the third social class to enjoy private property and family, but that would be under strict control and supervision of the guardian. Plato played fair with both sections of society in terms of reward and punishment. Table बना लो reward and punishment. ठीक है, ये लिखो गार्डियन क्लास, ये लिखो प्रोड्यूसर क्लास. ओके, गार्डियन क्लास की क्या रिवार्ड है? रूलिंग एंड गवर्नेंस. रूलिंग एंड गवर्नेंस. दे व्हाट इज देयर पनिशमेंट? दे कैन नॉट हैव फैमिली एंड प्रॉपर्टी. Okay, similarly they can have family and property, producer class, family and property. Okay, no political participation. All right, so guardian class का क्या है कि they cannot have family and property but they will be in governance, and other class, the producer class, will not be in governance but they will have family and private property. So he tried to harmonize or the two sections in society. Okay. Plato abolished private family and property for the guardian class, for they encouraged nepotism, favoritism, particularism, factionalism, and other corrupt practices among rulers. Thereby, Plato establishes a high standard for governing and governors. Communism is common ownership. It means that property, family, and family will be in common. There will be no freedom to choose partner. State will find matches of ablest men with ablest of women to develop the best Greek race. This is an example of eugenics, similar to the Hitler used racial theory for best creed of Germans. Okay, so child born will be taken care by the state, because if you wanted to end family, then you cannot have the process of reproduction, and that how will the new generation will be there. Okay, so child born will be taken by the state and men and women are relieved from rearing so that they can devote time for the state. Okay, now we have seen the rationale for corruption, a rationale for communism of theory and property, and for which class it will be there, for guardian class, and it will not be for producing class. Okay, now how this system will operate? Okay, right, members of guardian class will live together in common. They will not purchase any gold or silver. They will receive fixed quota for subsistence from producer class. They will follow the Greek principle that friends have all things in common. Okay. The Platonic scheme is based on the premise that women and men are identical in natural endowment and faculties. He proposes abolition of permanent monogamous marriages and private families. However, Marriage is necessary to ensure the reproduction and continuation of human survival. He, therefore, advocates temporary sexual union for the purpose of bearing children. Next, he relieved women of child rearing and child care responsibilities. Plato proposes strict regulation of sexual intercourse, which has to be performed in the interest of state by ensuring that the best and fittest of human stock were made available. The philosopher ruler will decide on sexual unions. Festivals will be organized to find best pairs for intercourse by a lot. Ideal age for marriage for male 25 to 55, ठीक है, and female 20 to 40. Next, once children are born, they would be taken care by the state, maintained nurseries. Except for philosopher, none would know the parentage. किसी को पता नहीं होगा कि माँ बाप कौन है. This will ensure that all children will respect the elders. Conversely, all elders will love all the children. Okay. Now, Plato's meritocratic society gave very little importance to birth. He did not believe in skill and talent are hereditary in nature. Although he proposes rigged lottery and eugenics will later be popular in fascism and Nazism. Okay, so we have seen that through theory of education, that is primary mechanism to select a philosopher king, and once philosopher king will be selected, Plato want to ensure that he will devote his time to governance and welfare of the people, and he will not indulge himself in corruption. But he has certain doubt in his mind. That's why he gave theory of communism to prevent it from corruption. Okay, now we have seen the theory of communism for guardian class. Now, critical evaluation of this theory. Critical evaluation of this theory. Okay, so Aristotle, who was a disciple of Plato, is considered as its contemporary and great critic. Contemporary, a disciple and great critic. He says that family and private property, okay, because human nature have instinct or natural tendency to gain something, to have something in possession. Okay, that's why he want to have some property. Okay, and property requires some reasoning in mind. Only intelligent mind can have property in their own. Okay, so men of reason are men of property, or the masters have property. Slave cannot have property. Okay, so human beings have natural tendency to possess something. They have natural instinct. So that's why private property is necessary. And we know that if we cannot have private property, then we will not have any motivation to do work. Okay, so some motivation is required in life. Otherwise, people will not go to work. That happens in communism. Because suppose we take example of capitalism. Why capitalism is efficient and it is still working is that it is based on personal interest. That we will have profit and we will amass property. Once you once you end private property, then people will not have any motivation to work. First. Second, human beings have a natural tendency to have sex, to have reproduction. Okay. It will give him emotional satisfaction or physical satisfaction. So, if we do not give guardians or rulers these kind of benefit, emotional stability and the possession, okay, the motivation, how will they do good of society if they are not given good for themselves? Okay, so property and family is required for both emotional stability and motivation. Okay, this is criticism of Aristotle. Okay, apart from this, there is famous critique is that simple is that why he is keeping particular section out of property and not other. Okay, all right. So right. While Plato's scheme may apparently seem liberating, it implied excessive regimentation with very little privacy and individuality. In trying to ensure that a family life is not corrupted with narrow sectarianism and selfishness, Plato went to other extreme and eliminated the emotional bonding that the family provides. Right? Criticism by Aristotle. Family involves deepest human emotion. It represents cherished convention within human society. Aristotle is a greatest critic who has given a detailed reason as to why the family and private property are important to happiness of individual and welfare of state. Aristotle is considered as the greatest disciple of Plato as well as contemporary critic of Plato. Aristotle defends private property, while Plato held that private property would have negative consequences. Aristotle believed in the opposite advantage of property, that is psychological benefit, source of motivation to do hard work, sense of achievement, well-being, positive social consequence. Okay, and men of property are men of reason. They are interested in stability. Okay, जो प्रॉपर्टी वाला इंसान है वो लॉ भी फॉलो करेगा एंड ही विल फॉलो द लॉ. Aristotle, in defense of marriage, says that marriage is not only for just procreation, but it gives emotional stability, which is important for ordered social life. Okay, Plato is taking us back to the barbaric ages. Okay, however, Plato's defense of abolition of property and family has found strong adherence among early socialists like Saint Simon, Saint Simon or Saint Simon, okay, Robert Owen and Charles Fourier. They were early socialists and Karl Marx calls them utopian socialist. Okay. Plato was addressing the challenge of combining economic and political power. Plato is first to understand the implication of role that economic factor play in politics, private property. Communism will make no distinction between private and public life and eliminate confluence of political and economic power. Let me explain this. See, if the principle of economics will enter in politics, principle of economics and private property. Okay, so you want to prevent the principle, the influence of economics on politics. Okay, you want to prevent that. All right. Apart from that, you want to distinguish between private and public life. In the introduction of our course, I told you what is meaning of political. Political mean organization of public life. Political deal with public. But Plato is saying that even the private life of individual or the ruling class can affect the political system in operation. All right. So, private means property and family. These are private matter of life. They are the realm of privacy and individuality. But they can have their bearing or consequence on public system because of corruption. Okay. So if we end this private, then there will be no existence of private system and there will be no distinction between private and public life. Okay. So then we can ensure that there will be good governance and administration. All right. So this is the system. So he is ending the public-private divide. All right. Apart from he is preventing the mixing of economic and politics. Economics and politics. The Karl Marx later will say that economics has influence on politics. All right. The economic structure, basic structure. Society, politics is influenced by economics. That's why Plato is saying that there will be communism of property and family. Okay. And from this topic, one question can be asked is that apart from this explanation of communism of property or theory of education, that compare it with modern Marx, Karl Marx. So we will see it later, and I hope I have discussed theory of education and theory of communism in greater detail. And let me again tell you that the idea is for us is selection of philosopher king, that is in ideal state, and he will be based on theory of justice. But how to select particular candidate for philosopher king, then he has given certain tests to identify particular class. So he has given training and eligibility for philosopher king, that is theory of education. Okay. Apart from this, the theory of communism is that philosopher is perfect embodiment of idea of good philosophy. Okay. He will not be influenced by money and power, but let us have some additional check or supplementary check. Okay. So that we can ensure that philosopher king will be idea of good, based on idea of good. So he gave the communism of property family to prevent the harm property and family can put on philosopher king, like factionalism, nepotism, corruption, favoritism, etc. So Plato is perfectionist, Plato is radical, Plato is idealist. The person which has idealist attitude or mind want to create a perfect manifestation. They do not want to have even iota or single doubt in the creation of their system. That's why it will be perfect state or ideal state. That's why he is choosing, why he is giving the elaborate system of education, everything he is nitpicking. Perfect manifestation, or he is involved in intricacies. Detailed education system. Why we should teach gymnastic? Why we should teach mathematics All right, why we should teach them the dialectics, you know. So he is giving detailed focus each and exact to give the blueprint for ideal state. Okay, I hope I have made clear theory of education, communism, and in previous classes theory of idea, theory of justice, theory of class, theory of soul. All right, so most of the theories of Plato are over, but one thing is remaining, that once the philosopher king come, we have only dealt with that how to choose philosopher king. All right, to theory of class, theory of justice, theory of education, and how to prevent them. But what will be the power of philosopher king and how he will rule over the city state? Okay, what will be the limitation on him? That we will see in next class. Okay, I know the philosophy or the topic of Plato can be cumbersome, not easy to understand, but I am trying to make it as simple as possible. All right, so please revise it and please join me in next class. I will upload it today, this class, and in next class will be tomorrow or day after tomorrow, and do join me there. If you like my content, please like, share, subscribe, and bring other political science students too. If you can, it will be great help for me. Thank you very much. Thank you.